Hey YouTube. So out on the trail today. Karen's not with me. Sorry if I'm swatting mosquitoes, but even with bug spray, they seem to want to still bite me. They usually go away after a while. I need to start using that mosquito repeller thing. I can't remember. Thermocell. And use that. So I'm going to make a whole series of weight loss so you guys can follow my journey. Today I weighed 281 pounds. I started out the year in June at 315 pounds, so I've lost 35 pounds. Have I changed my diet significantly? Not really. I cut out all the sugar out of my diet completely. And I am making wiser choices when it comes to things I eat. I use my watch. It has a bioimpedance sensor on the watch that is as accurate, according to the sources I've looked at, and I've looked at a few, that is as accurate as if you went into a place and got it measured. It's so close that they said that you'd be wasting your money. So the bioimpedance will tell you how much water you have in your system or in your body, how much fat and how much muscle you have. The key to using it successfully is to do it the same time every day under the same conditions. You want to have an empty stomach and you want to be basically in the same condition. It will tell you if you're dehydrated, if you're at the same normal levels that you usually are, whether you're losing body fat. God, those things are buzzing me. A lot of things. So I use that, and then I use my watch to tell me. I do 3 days of aerobic exercise on the bike, and 2 days or 2 or 3 days of weight loss riding, meaning low intensity riding. And on those days, I really watch the carbs. And then on the aerobic days, I don't really worry about it. But on the days I'm worrying about just weight loss, I try to keep my glucose level lower. The VA only allows me to test my blood sugar every 3 days. Well, yeah, it works out to about every 3 days. And they would rather have me reserve it for when I'm having symptoms versus just to check my blood sugar. But during the daytime, my blood sugars are in the 100s, and my problem is after I go to bed, it rises all night, and in the morning it tends to be a little higher than probably what it should be, but not high as in you guys are probably going, what does he mean higher? 130s, 140s at the most. The highest I've seen it lately is 147. So then it does, they call that sunrise syndrome or something, where your body is waking up. It happens at different times for different people. For the vast majority of my life, I was a early morning riser, sometimes as early as 3 o'clock in the morning, and my days ended late in the evening when I was in the military. A typical military day was 14 hours before I got home. I had to be there at work at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just depended on what time we were waking the soldiers up at. But I had to be there before they were awake. Also gave you time to do anything that you needed to get done without interruptions. So I did that for a lot of years, and that has affected me when my morning spikes happen, which are early morning. So nothing you can do about it, and you can't plan, you can't eat for it. You can't do nothing. It's just the way it is. So now I didn't really tell you guys how this watch works, but how the Galaxy Watch 5 works is you put in your information. It knows how many calories you're supposed to eat. You can set it up to give you a water reminder to drink. That's all I drink anymore is water and coffee. And if I drink coffee, I drink it with milk, and I use whole milk. Some people would say that's too much fat, but for the most part, the fat in the milk is okay because I try to avoid the fat everywhere else. And I can't stand I cannot stand those flavored sugar-free drinks. The bitterness in it, and I've had DNA testing done, and I am prone to noticing bitter taste. So anything that has artificial sweetener in it, I can taste, and it just doesn't taste good to me. Karen's the opposite. She would rather have the sugar-free stuff or the stevia and all those other sweeteners. She would rather have those. And she still drinks a flavored water with stevia or whatever it is in the flavoring. And I just don't. I just would rather have plain water. I have an ice machine. I put a little ice in it, and that's what I drink. After I finish my coffee for the days, I drink water the rest of the day. So the watch, getting back to the watch, it has zones in it, and it tells you where you are in the zone. Beginning of the year, one thing to keep in mind, how you go out and challenge yourself at the beginning of the year will affect where you end up at the end of the year. So at the beginning of this year, Karen had her new bike, and it was keep up with her because her settings weren't there. So we were averaging 17, 18 miles an hour on the bike, 17 most of the time. So it changed my whole exercise pattern. Now a slow ride for me is 14 miles an hour, whereas in the previous years a normal ride average speed was about 11.5 miles an hour. Now it's most days it's in the 14. Some days it's on the weight loss, on the fat burning days it's in the 13s. But that's the difference. I was burning fat at 10 miles an hour before. Now I'm burning fat at 13. It's because my body's heart conditioning has went that much higher than it has been in previous years. I don't walk because of my ankles. I just literally only walk is what I need to do to live normally. If I walk too much, my ankles bother me. I can't sleep at night, and it affects my whole next day. So I avoid walking when I can. When I can't, I try to limit it to a certain step count on my watch. So the watch will tell you every kilometer what your pace is, what your heart rate, and that information. So a kilometer is 0.62 miles. So every 0.62 miles, it's going to give you some information. And for the most part, you'll be able to hear it. You can turn it up so you can hear it. You'll know if your heart rate's going too fast, and it takes, when you're exercising, the watch continuously monitors your heart rate. So it will tell you when your heart rate's too fast. You'll know because you'll be able to look at the zones and see where your fat burning zone is, your aerobic zone is, and where your anaerobic zone is. So you look at the zones and decide where you want to ride. On my aerobic days, it's either in the aerobic or the anaerobic zone, but either way, my heart rate is much higher on those days, 130s, 140s. And for someone my age, which is 60, I'll be 62 pretty soon, you want to keep your zones going to be much lower than a young person. You can figure that out. The watch will do it based on your age and your conditioning to somewhat. So it keeps track of you as you get physically fitter. It will change the zones. When I started the year, my fat burning zone was 104 or 105 was the limit, and now it's up to 111. So it continuously changes the zone to where you should be burning fat based on your heart rate. So I can't show you right now. It's paused. It's paused, and it shows you I rode 5.67 miles, and my average speed's been 13.9 miles an hour. This is an aerobic day. I've already rode 8 miles today. By the time I get home, I'll have right around 14 miles, or 14 plus miles. So that's how it helps. So I've lost 35 pounds. Karen has lost around 20 pounds, but she does not ride as often as on the days that she don't ride. She tries to get those extra steps in. She used to sit in her bed all day and crochet, and then get up and go for a bike ride. Now she's up all day and crocheting still, but she's walking. She gets out of the chair every once in a while and walks. So that's working for her. Plus she has the Ozempic on board, but she's on a lowest enough dose that it's really not going to help her lose massive weight like those people that are taking 2 milligrams or 3 milligrams a day. And I think part of the problem with Ozempic is people aren't taking it as it's prescribed because they figure more is better, and they end up destroying their digestive system because they didn't listen to the doctor. And I bet you the doctors have figured that out. God, they're all over me. Anyway, so I'm not telling you need a Galaxy watch. You can use an Apple Watch. They all do about the same thing. The Garmin watches do the same thing. It'll keep track of your mileage. In matter of fact, the heart rate on this watch is not as accurate as the Apple Watches are, but it's accurate enough for me. There's going to be some wild readings once in a while, but if I think they're wrong, I just disregard them. But it's not that off. It's probably 80, I think it's 82% or 88%. Well, no, it was 92% accurate. So that's good enough for me, especially since that. So you have the bioimpedance that you can use as a tool to tell you how you're doing with your journey, fat loss journey. It'll give you your BMI based on your body fat, or it'll just give you your BMI. I don't think it bases it off anything. And the cycling. I'm on a class 1 bike, so I can't use my throttle. It's me pedaling. It was me pedaling on my electric when I rode it. I do not use the throttle, even to start off. I just treat it like a regular class 1 bike. If I wanted to catch, if Karen goes completely wacky and takes off going down a hill and I need to catch her, I might use the throttle, but that'd be it. So you don't need an electric bike, but if you're limited in your mobility, it's going to help you go that extra distance. You're still going to get exercise. You're still pedaling. You're still bearing some of the resistance of going up those hills and down those hills and everything. It's just not as hard on you. So the key is to start. And if starting means you have to walk before you ride your bike, then you walk before you ride your bike. However little bit you can do, it's the starting that's the most important part. It's not how much or how often, it's just start. Once you start and get used to it, and don't give up. It's that first 2 weeks that hurts everybody. first 2 weeks at a job, first 2 weeks at exercising, first 2 weeks on a diet. All those things are the hardest. It's the first 2 weeks that people give up the most in. If you can make it past them first 2 weeks, you'll be golden, because it'll become easier. You'll be able to do more, and you'll get out and be able to exercise more at the end of the year. My biggest problem with weight loss from year to year is keeping it off during the wintertime. Can't walk in on anything slick. I'm too unstable, and I hate indoor bikes. But this year, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to ride our indoor bike at least every day for a half an hour, just to keep my physical fitness up. Indoor bikes are not the equivalent of riding your bike out on the streets or trails. It'll never be the same. And if you guys are going out there and saying, well, I'm going to spin class, I've been on a spin bike when they first came out. I just looked at people like they were silly. They'd be sweating their butt off, and I'd be just normal. It was when I was stationed in the Army, and they started this spin class, and the instructor says, do you get anything out of this? I said, when you're riding up 10-mile climbs on your bike, on your road bike, and you had the lowest gear you have is not very low, and you're struggling up them hills every day and you're keeping your heart rate really at a high level for literally for half an hour on end. I told them that spinning just doesn't do it for me. It's boring. Even maybe not so boring with a group of people that you're talking to or motivating or whatever, but if you're at home on a stationary bike, a spin bike or whatever, even if you have the fancy stuff with the computer-aided stuff, they adjust your resistance when you're going up a hill and stuff, it's still boring to me. There's nothing like seeing nature and being out in it. So I've ranted and raved long enough. I don't always rest on my rides, especially on my aerobic rides. I just turn around and usually go straight home. But on the days that I have something that I want to bring up, because it was brought up to me that I didn't explain how the watch helps me very well. This watch is connected to a Galaxy phone that has a health program, and there's various health programs out there for different phones. You don't have to use Samsung. That records all the information and breaks it down to charts that you can understand, split times. It gives you a split for every mile, your heart rate for the whole entire ride, and showing you where it is on a graph, and distance and a map of where you went. And it's pretty accurate. It's almost more accurate. And part of the reason it's pretty accurate is I'm out in the country. I almost always has a view of the sky, so the GPS is always locked on and working very well. If you're in the city, GPS on a watch can be based on how it's pointed or where it is. So keep that in mind. If you're riding all your rides in the city and your GPS isn't tracking you well, it may be that it's just the buildings blocking the GPS signal. So I'm going to get back out there after I've killed hundreds of mosquitoes. If you have any questions about this video, put them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Just don't construe me as an expert. I know what works for me, and maybe what works for me will work for you. Have a great day.